Okay, I'm going to tell you guys which is better on each class of the mythic weapons. I'll get up to the point, starting with Mage, I guess, which is better the gun or the staff, and I don't even have to explain this much, I'm just going to say staff. And the reason for that is because it gives 700% damage. If 700% damage is a lot to you, then I don't know what the hell is, because 700% is a shit ton of damage. And it also gives you like hundreds of percent of health and a few 100% armor. It basically turns you into a nuclear bomb on a mage. And it lasts for like 7 seconds, which is a whole lot longer than what I would expect. For the rogue, it's going to be the daggers. They give 300% damage to the person that procs them, and the enemy it debuffs, it gives your team 2 times the damage towards that target, so you'll be able to kill bosses faster and stuff like that if you have a good team. If you're like a solo person, you want daggers and the bow would be bosses, the daggers would be mobs. But that's just how it is for the rogue. It would be daggers mainly. Now onto the warrior. The warrior has both weapons that could be chosen depending on your gameplay. And what that means is, say if I go to a Kenta, or a Kenta's lair with a sword, I will literally not be able to do shit because that boss will consistently stun me every 2 seconds or so, and the sword relies on you being right next to the boss doing damage to it. As for the Aegis, I'm pretty sure it can proc off of just using your skills like bleed and stuff from Extral. I'm not sure how the Aegis procs, if it's normal attacks or you can use skilled attacks, but if it's like that, you could literally hit the boss more often with the Aegis than you can with the sword. But if you go to Rahabor's, however the fuck you say that, layer, the sword is better because he stands literally at the middle of the map. You sit there, you could just swing your sword, hitting him constantly, and he barely attacks, and most of his attacks are the side attacks and stuff like that. He rarely does his mega area attack, so you'll be hitting him more often with the sword than you would the Aegis. Same with the mechanical shark. The sword is better versus him than the Aegis. But if you go to a level 81 map, the Aegis is going to be better versus mobs and the mini bosses in these maps. Like the third and fourth map, the Aegis would be better. The first and second map, the Aegis would be better, or the sword would be better. This is versus the mini bosses. For the mobs, the Aegis would be better in all 4 maps. For the main boss, the sword would be better in all 4 maps. It just really depends on which maps you run. So my suggestion is, if you go for the Aegis, you're really not going to need Skulldozer unless you run Mausoleum and below maps. But if you have the sword, the Taurus, you're going to want Skulldozer. Thus, Skulldozer is going to help you clear out mobs. Usually the ideal loadout would be Skulldozer, Neptaris, and Polaris, all 3. The Mythic Sword, the Mythic Aegis, and the Dozerax. So, that's just if you want to blow a lot of gold. Usually I personally use a sword because if you could use it properly and be fast with it, you could do a crap ton of damage. I say Aegis, you can proc your Dozer or your Chaswell Vest easier with it and stuff like that. As a sword, it's a bit harder because it's normal attacks, but it all depends on your gameplay and stuff like that. So that's what I have to say about them. Staff, daggers, sword, or Aegis, depends on your gameplay.